In a high school in 2005, two deeply disturbed minds crossed paths.
Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a f***ing joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie.
Fueled by an obsession with murder and slasher horror flicks, these individuals were no longer interested in watching horror on a screen. They wanted to create it, outdo it.
We're gonna go down in history. We're gonna be just like Scream, except real life terms.
That
We're gonna be
sounds
murderers.
good, baby.
Like, let's see, Ted Bundy, like the Hillside Strangler,
No.
the Zodiac Killer.
Those people are more amateurs compared to what we're gonna be.
To recreate the horror movie Scream, they planned to kill one of their friends, and they filmed the entire thing. This is the tragic murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart. Thank you so much for joining me for this week's investigation. We're gonna get right into this case, so make sure that you are subscribed, following wherever you watch or listen to the show, and like, rate, and review the show to help push these episodes out to even more people. My name is Brianna, and I'm hot on the case. Cassie Jo Stoddart was born on December 21st, 1989, and was raised in Pocatello, Idaho. From a young age, Cassie was a talented artist. She had this huge passion for the arts. She was also really interested in music and acting and playing soccer. Cassie was a very smart, responsible, headstrong girl. A 16-year-old junior at Pocatello High School, Cassie was a straight-A student and she had lots of friends. She really was just your average teenage girl. The really only major stressor in her life was that she was trying to save up enough money to buy herself a car. So when her aunt and uncle asked her if she wanted to house and pet sit for them while they were away out of town for the weekend to make some quick, easy cash, Cassie took them up on the offer. And then after school on Friday, September 22nd, 2006, Cassie's mother dropped her off at her aunt and uncle's house. And with permission from her aunt and uncle, Cassie's boyfriend Matt was also over to hang out that Friday night and keep her company. Reportedly, Cassie actually got pretty annoyed with her boyfriend pretty early on in that Friday evening because he invited two of his friends, Brian and Tori, over to her empty house. Cassie liked Brian and Tori. They were definitely more her boyfriend Matt's friends, but she still considered Brian and Tori her friends. They all just kind of ran in the same friend group. The issue was that Cassie was just super responsible and she only asked her aunt and uncle permission to have her boyfriend over, not two of his friends. But still, she tries to just let it go and be a good host. She gave all the boys a little house tour. She introduced them to the dogs that she was pet sitting, and then they all sat down in the living room to watch a movie. But before the movie ended, Brian and Tori decided that they were going to leave. They claimed that they were expecting, since it was an empty house, it was a Friday, that Cassie was going to be throwing a house party. And since there was no party, they started to get bored. They wanted to spend their Friday night doing something else, so they decided to leave. Cassie and Matt kept watching movies in the living room, but after a little bit, the lights in the house went completely out. After a little bit, the lights turned back on, and then they went back out again. Pitch black. The lights are flickering on and off, on and off. And this is really creeping Cassie out because she's supposed to be spending the night in this empty house. And then to make matters even stranger, her aunt and uncle's dog is sitting at the top of the basement steps, just staring down into the dark basement. And as Cassie is getting more and more freaked out, her boyfriend Matt calls up his mom to ask permission that he sleep over here and stay the night with Cassie because she was that scared and she didn't want to be alone. But Matt's mom says absolutely not. She was not letting her 16-year-old son spend the night, have a sleepover with his 16-year-old girlfriend in this empty house with absolutely no adult supervision. But she wasn't unreasonable. She recognized that Cassie is this young girl. She's responsible and she's alone and she's scared. So she offers that Cassie can come and spend the night at their house. And I'm sure that Cassie really wanted to take them up on this offer, but Like I've said 100 times, she's a super responsible girl, and she told her family that she was gonna house and pet sit for them. So she declined the offer, and not long later, Matt's mom came and picked him up. And then Cassie was completely alone, or so she thought. And then 2 days later, on September 24th, Cassie's aunt, uncle, and cousin returned home from their weekend away, and they found Cassie dead in a pool of her own blood on the floor of their living room. Tragically, it was actually Cassie's 13-year-old cousin that first found her body. This was an extremely brutal scene. Blood was everywhere. Cassie had been stabbed about 35 times. This was supposed to be a safe neighborhood, and here you have a defenseless 16-year-old girl viciously killed. There were no signs of forced entry, and since nothing was missing, a robbery gone wrong was pretty much immediately taken off the table. It seemed pretty obvious to the investigators that Cassie knew her killer. Maybe she even let them in. But Cassie was a smart girl, a responsible girl. None of this made sense. The investigators could also tell that Cassie had been dead for quite a while, that she had probably been killed that Friday night. So the obvious first suspect was her boyfriend, Matt. Not only is the partner of a girl usually the first suspect after they are murdered, but Matt was also the last person that saw Cassie alive. And when Matt was brought into questioning, the investigators noticed that Matt was acting pretty odd. Not the way that you would expect a teenage boy to be acting after finding out that his girlfriend has been killed, and likely killed only a few moments after he last saw her. Matt was stoic, emotionless. It took him a while to answer most of the investigators' questions, or to give them all of the information that he knew. During his interview, Matt said that when he left Cassie's aunt and uncle's house on the 22nd, Cassie was very much still alive. And his mother also confirmed that Cassie was alive when she picked up her son. Matt also passed a polygraph test. Matt said that he tried to get a hold of Cassie the entire day on the 23rd and the 24th. He called her, but she never picked up. And this was confirmed by phone records. Matt actually tried to call her not long after he got home from her house, probably to try and keep her company on the phone because he knew that she was scared. But by the time that he first tried to call her about midnight that night, she was already dead. And for some reason, it took Matt a really long time to tell investigators that him and Cassie weren't alone that night. That his two friends, Brian and Tori, came over the night that Cassie was likely killed. So the investigators were really interested in talking to Brian and Tori. Maybe they saw something or someone suspicious when they left her house that night. That same day, they spoke with Tori at his home. He said the same story, that he thought Cassie was going to be having a house party. They got bored of just sitting around watching a movie, so him and Brian left so they could go to the movie theater. They got bored of watching a movie, so they left to go watch a movie. That was pretty suspicious, but him and Brian had this alibi. They were at the movie theater. They were watching this new horror movie that was in theaters called Pulse. And to confirm their alibi, the investigators wanted to ask them some questions about the movie that they saw. Of course, if they had just seen this movie 2 days earlier, they should be able to answer pretty much questions about the entire movie. But Tori could not even answer basic questions about the plot of the movie. Really, the only thing that he could tell the investigators about the movie that he just saw was what the movie poster looked like, and that really doesn't confirm anything. That's not an alibi. When investigators went to speak with Brian, it was the exact same thing. He couldn't say anything about the movie that him and his friend Tori had allegedly just seen 2 days earlier. And then about 45 minutes into questioning Brian, his story started to change. He said that the reason that he didn't remember anything about the movie was because they did not go to the movies that night. Instead, they were actually looking through different parked cars trying to find one that was unlocked so they could burglarize it. Typically, when I'm covering these cases, I'll say if a suspect ever changes their story even a little bit, it's a huge red flag. But in this case, I will say it's understandable. Both Brian and Tori are 16-year-old boys. They're juniors in high school. Of course, they wouldn't want to admit to the police that they were committing a crime, breaking and entering into cars to steal from them. The next day, Tori was also brought in for questioning again. And with his parents present, he also changed his story. And he confirmed what Brian had just said, that him and Brian were trying to steal from cars that evening, and that's why they lied. Tori's parents are a small but very interesting part of this case. I understand parents wanting to believe that their children are good people, but even while being faced with their 16-year-old son admitting that he was trying to steal from people, not only are they extremely soft on him, but Tori's father actually apologizes to Tori because they, as his parents, did not tell him that he was not supposed to lie to the police.
I'm glad you told the truth, Tori. I'm sorry I didn't tell you how important it was the first time. I should have spent a few minutes talking to you. The police came in, they said your friend's dead, and they asked you for a statement. I was just like wham bam. And I understand you're worried about the cars. I should have taken you aside before you gave them that other statement.
I was worried about the cars because Adam said that the cops told him that it was 10 years per car you get into in prison.
Well, of course you were worried about him. That's a serious thing.
You should have been worried about him as you were doing that, Tori.
Well, we'll talk about that tomorrow.
Later.
But what Tori and his parents did not know was that Brian had already told the investigators almost everything that happened the night that Cassie was killed. And Tori was about to be arrested for first-degree murder. So who are these boys, Brian and Tori? 16-year-old Brian Draper and 16-year-old Tori Adamczyk met as sophomores and quickly became friends through their shared love of movies, specifically horror movies. The two boys were friends with Cassie, mostly through their friendship with her boyfriend Matt, but they actually shared, the three of them, a biology table, and they also all shared a love for scary movies. When Brian and Tori said that they wanted to make their own scary movie, Cassie said that she wanted to be a part of it. Brian and Tori were huge horror buffs. They were particularly really obsessed with the slasher films from the Scream franchise at this point. The first 3 movies had come out. Along with their love for horror movies, Brian and Tori were fascinated with true crime and serial killers. They idolized them. They even covered their lockers and their bedroom walls with the images, the faces of infamous serial killers. Ted Bundy, the Zodiac Killer, Ed Gein. Some reports actually say that Brian had a crush on Cassie, but this was not reciprocated because she was dating Brian's friend Matt, and that she just saw Brian as a friend. There's also reports that say that Tori at one point also had feelings for Cassie. Brian had this extremely bizarre obsession with the Columbine school shooting, where students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold murdered 13 students and 1 teacher before turning their weapons on themselves. Brian was obsessed with Eric and Dylan. He said that they were his heroes. He wanted to copy their style and their personalities. He started listening to the same music as them. He began wearing these big, oversized black trench coats, just like they did. He even praised the shooting on his MySpace page. And allegedly, 2 years prior to Cassie's murder, while a freshman in high school, Brian and another student that was not Tori actually planned to commit a school shooting. Another student luckily overheard about their plans and went to the principal with this, and the school talked to Brian and his mother about this, and both Brian and this other student were just given a warning. And this is extremely disappointing. At this point, it would have been about 5 years after the Columbine school shooting. And the fact that the Pocatello High School would just give out a warning to 2 students planning a school shooting. I guess it's not surprising. It's disappointing, but not surprising. And within 1 month, both boys, Brian and this unnamed student, were caught once again trying to plan a school shooting. They were going to shoot up a school dance. They were brought into the principal's office once again with the same concerns from the month prior, but it really doesn't look like anything happened once again because Brian's official school record has 0 mention of either incident. And it really doesn't seem like Brian's parents did anything about these really concerning behaviors either. The other boy that was involved, well, he was put through psychological counseling, and he was also transferred to another school. And then the following year, Brian met Tori. Tori Adamczyk also had a very disturbing reputation. He would brag at school about having a very large knife collection, and then he would pretend to stab people at school. Together, Brian and Tori would joke a lot about killing someone, inspired by these infamous serial killers and their favorite slasher films. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being a joke. It stopped being a fantasy, and it started becoming an actual plan. They not only wanted to be this infamous, notorious, monstrous duo like the Columbine school shooters or like Billy and Stu, the fictional killers from the Scream movie, they wanted to outdo them.
We're gonna go down in history. We're gonna be just like Scream, except real life terms.
That
We're gonna be
sounds
murderers.
good, baby.
Like, let's see, Ted Bundy, like the Hillside Strangler,
No.
the Zodiac Killer.
Those people are more amateurs compared to what we're gonna be. We're gonna be more of higher sources of
Gene.
Gene.
Well, except for that sick and that twisted.
Oh, do you know what Gene's words were?
What?
Saw a girl walking down the street, right?
Yeah.
2 questions came to his head. I could take her out, have a nice time with her,
The killer.
and show her a
Get
good
her
time,
alive?
charm the pants off her, or I wonder what her head would look like on a stick.
Holy shit.
That's creepy,
Yes.
huh?
Holy shit. Murder is power, murder is freedom. Goodbye.
The 2 boys began planning a murder spree. They put together a kill list of their classmates planning a Columbine-like shooting. And because they shared this love of film, they wanted to record the entire process, planning their murder debut. So we actually have so much footage of these killers leading up to committing this brutal, senseless act. We also have the footage of them choosing who their first victim would be, their friend, Cassie Jo Stoddart.
We found our victim, and sad as it may be, she's our friend. But you know what? We all have to make sacrifices. Our first victim is going to be Cassie Stoddart and her
God,
friends.
turn your brights off,
Well,
asshole.
yeah, we'll find out if she has friends over. She's gonna be alone in a big, dark house out in the middle of nowhere. How perfect can you get? I mean, like, holy shit, dude.
I'm horny just thinking about it.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna kill her and her friends, and we're gonna keep moving on. I heard some news about Kirsten. She's gonna be home alone from 6 to 7. So we might kill her, then drive over to Cassie's thing and scare the shit out of them, then kill them one by one. Hell yeah.
Why 1 by 1? Why can't it be a
2 by 2
slaughterhouse?
and 3 by 3. Because we gotta keep it classy. So yeah,
Classy.
it's gonna be extra fun.
You're evil.
Yes, I am.
And I'm not 100% sure of their motive to kill their friend Cassie. They claimed to like her, care about her. It really does seem that the reason that they chose Cassie was because they knew that she was going to be home alone, that she was going to be house sitting. They said it was unfortunate that it had to be Cassie, but they had to make a sacrifice. In videos the day before Cassie was killed, they were driving around late at night. They were driving around to the homes of their classmates to see if any of them were home alone, and they would have gone in to their homes and killed them first.
We're going
And
for a
plus,
high death count.
We're not going not to get caught, Brian. If we're going for guns, we're just gonna end it. We're just gonna
Oh,
grab the guns and get out of there, kill everybody, and leave.
We're going to make history. We're gonna make history. And we're going over to Nixon's house. We're gonna go snoop around over there and try to see if she's home alone or not. And if she's home alone, splat! She did.
But that night they didn't find anyone home alone. So they finalized their plan to murder Cassie.
Dixon's house. It's clear out there in the pasture. We've already snooped around her house a couple times. She's not home, so we're gonna go to the church over there and we're gonna call a girl and a guy named Cassie and Matt. They're our friends, but we have to make sacrifices, so.
And in these videos, they speak so casually, without remorse, about planning to murder their friend. She wasn't even just their friend. This was also the girlfriend of one of their best friends, Matt. They even planned to also murder their friend Matt, Cassie's boyfriend, if he was also there when they went to kill Cassie.
I feel tonight it is the night, and I feel really weird, inside my stomach and stuff, and I feel like I want to kill somebody. So, I know that's not normal, but what the hell?
I feel we need to break away from normal life.
How bright is this light?
Because
Natural selection, that's all I gotta say.
there should be no law against killing people. I know it's a wrong thing, but hell, you restrict somebody from it, they're gonna want it more.
Exactly.
On the morning of September 22nd, 2006, Brian brought that camera to school and he was filming everything. Brian actually goes up to Cassie at her locker and starts filming her. He's talking to her and he knows that he's planning to kill her later that evening. This is a 16-year-old boy.
You would kill her.
Dude, I was thinking about it. Actually, I was really actually gonna do it.
Oh,
And
yeah?
I was like, what's the best thing?
Hey, look, it's Cassie.
Hey, look, I don't know.
Hello, Cassie. I'm getting you on tape, okay? Say hi, please. Hi. Okay, see ya. Wait. Have you seen Tori? He's supposed to meet me here at 7:30, and it's 8:19. He's an hour late. You don't even care, do you? Okay. See ya.
Oh, dude, I totally,
Totally, dude.
By noon, both Brian and Tori skipped their 4th period class so they could sit in the library and plan out how they were going to kill their friend Cassie later that day. And in this footage, they discuss how Cassie was going to be home alone and that it was perfect. Brian says that he's sorry to Cassie's family, but says that she had to die, and then he laughs. The disrespect, the lack of empathy, it's really, really disgusting. And they're so casual about this. That's what's like really, really scary. And they're just sitting in the library at their school talking about killing their friend, one of their classmates. There's other students, other teachers walking around.
September 2006, we're skipping our 4th hour. We're writing our plan right now.
It's not that close.
I'm telling Cassie's family, but she had been number one. We have to stick with the plan. And she's perfect, so she's gonna die.
While they're talking about this, another student, who I'm assuming is one of their friends, actually comes up and talks to them, not knowing that he's interrupting them planning to kill one of their classmates.
For all you viewers, this is for 3-piece and biscuit. 3-piece and biscuit.
Inside joke.
That's his name, though. And he plays foosball. And he stopped to say hi. What the fuck? Okay. Yep. Stay tuned. Hold on.
When Brian and Tori went to Cassie's aunt and uncle's house later that evening, they really were expecting it to be a house party, and they planned to commit this Columbine-like shooting where they would just shoot Cassie and her friends, all of their classmates.
On from 6 to 7, so we might kill her, then drive over to Cassie's thing and scare the shit out of them, then kill them one by one. Hell yeah.
Why 1 by 1? Why can't it be a
2 by
slaughterhouse?
2 and 3 by 3.
And when they saw that it was just Cassie and Matt, they wanted to mess with them, put them in a real-life scary movie. And they fully intended on killing both Cassie and Matt. When they first got there and Cassie gave them that house tour, Brian took the opportunity to unlock the basement door so they could get in later. And after they left, they went and they grabbed black clothing, gloves, knives, and these terrifying masks. And I'm assuming that this was supposed to be their version of the ghost face masks from Scream. Back at the house, they park Tori's car a little bit down the road. They change into their clothing and they snuck in through that unlocked basement door.
We're here in his car. The time is 9:50, September 22nd, 2006. Unfortunately, we have the grueling task of killing our 2 friends, and they are right in that house just down the street.
We just talked to them. We were there for an hour. But
We checked out the whole house. We know there's lots of doors. There's lots of places to hide. I unlocked the back doors, so it's all locked. Now we just gotta wait. And yeah, we're really nervous right now, but you know, we're ready.
we're listening to the greatest rock band
We've
ever,
waited for this for a long time.
Pink Floyd, before we commit the ultimate crime of murder.
They could still hear Cassie and Matt upstairs in the living room watching movies, and they wanted to scare them as much as possible. So after locating the circuit breaker that was in the basement, Brian and Tori repeatedly turned the lights off and on and off and on. The plan was, if Matt came downstairs to check on the breaker, they would murder their friend Matt, and then they would go upstairs and they would kill Cassie. But Matt never came downstairs, and it wasn't long until they heard Matt's mom come pick him up. Now with Cassie terrified and completely alone, they kept messing with the circuit breaker, turning off the lights, turning them back on, turning them off again. And with the house now just completely pitch black, they start slamming doors, banging on the walls, trying to make all this noise to terrify their friend Cassie as much as possible. And when Cassie never came downstairs, they crept up the stairs. It's still completely dark. At the top of the stairs, there was a closet, and they opened the door and they slammed it. So Cassie knew that they were getting closer. They just wanted to terrify this poor, innocent 16-year-old girl, Cassie, their friend, as much as possible. Cassie was still in the living room. Apparently, she was on the couch, kind of curled herself in a ball. And upstairs, they charged at her with their knives in their hands. Cassie was stabbed over 30 times, and she did her best to fight them off and defend herself. The Idaho State Police captain said that it was clear that Cassie put up an extreme fight and that she fought for her life. But tragically, there were just too many injuries. At least 12 of the stab wounds could have been the fatal blow, including a hit through her heart. She was killed in the dark, completely alone, by 2 intruders wearing terrifying masks. It's probably one of the scariest things I could ever imagine. They really put her through a real-life scary movie. And I don't know if it's worse or better that she did not know that it was her own friends that were the ones killing her. And after fleeing the scene and running back to Tori's car, Brian once again whips out the camera to record themselves. And this is such rare footage. We never see killers only moments after taking a human's life. Here's the footage.
Just killed Cassie. We just left her house. This is not a joke.
I'm shaking.
I stabbed her in the throat and I saw her lifeless body just disappear. Dude, I just killed Cassie.
This is just extremely rare because we also get a killer's confession on video directly after committing the murder. Throughout documenting and filming this entire process, Tori and Brian often reference who could possibly be watching these videos. They mention any serial killers that could be potentially watching their videos. They reference any FBI agents that could be watching, saying that they were too late to catch them.
For all you FBI agents watching this, you weren't quick enough.
You weren't quick enough and you weren't smart enough.
So it's almost like they wanted to get caught because they wanted someone to watch their videos. It's also possible that maybe for a majority of the planning for one or both of them, that this really was just a fantasy, like a really dark, twisted fantasy. It's possible for one or both of them that they never actually thought that it would get real, but it did. They stole an innocent life, a beautiful young girl with a bright future ahead of her. Cassie was a daughter, a sister, a friend. She had so much going for her. She had so much life ahead of her. And for it to just be ripped away so senselessly and brutally, I think about her in this case all the time. The paranoia and fear that she was probably feeling. We have all probably been at home late at night when it's dark, and then the paranoia and the fear creeps in, and then you hear a noise, and for a split second you think the worst. You know what I'm talking about? And the fact that this beautiful, smart, sweet, young 16-year-old girl lived through that actual nightmare, and those were her final moments, absolutely breaks my heart. And after killing their friend Cassie, you can hear in the video them say that it didn't feel real. You can also hear Tori say that they need to get their act together.
That felt like it wasn't real. I mean, it went by so fast.
Shut the f*** up, we gotta get our act straight.
It's okay. Okay, let's buy movie tickets now.
Okay.
Come on, goodbye.
No.
Goodbye.
That night, they actually tried to dispose of all of the evidence by burning it in an area called Black Rock Canyon. And I mean literally everything. They tried to burn their clothing, their gloves, the masks, their knives, their kill lists, even the camera and all of the footage. But luckily, they were not successful with burning it. And then afterwards, they tried to bury all of the evidence. The night after killing Cassie, Tori went and hung out with her boyfriend, Matt. And remember, this was the day that Matt was trying to repeatedly call his girlfriend, who he was worried about. He was trying to get a hold of her. Tori actually slept over at Matt's house that night. And I'm not trying to diagnose anyone, but this is psychopathic. It's like complete psychopathic behavior. He's able to sleep over at his friend's house knowing that the day before he murdered his friend's girlfriend and would have also killed him if his mom hadn't picked him up. Matt was so worried about Cassie, he wanted to go over to her aunt's and uncle's house to check on her, but Matt did not have a car. He asked his friend Tori if he would drive him over there so he could check on his girlfriend, but Tori said that he did not have enough gas. And this tells me that Matt was likely talking about Cassie a lot during that sleepover, how he was so worried about her because he couldn't get a hold of her. And Tori just sat there and he listened. While being interrogated, Brian started to crack and he admitted almost everything to the police. He said that that night they broke into that house because they were just trying to scare Cassie and Matt. It was supposed to be a joke. It was supposed to be a prank. And then Brian blamed the murder entirely on his friend Tori. He said that they were just there to play a prank on their friends, but out of nowhere, Tori just snapped and he killed Cassie. Brian said that that was not supposed to happen. He did not know that Tori was going to do that. He also told the police that Tori threatened to kill him if he told anyone what really happened. And Brian adamantly denied playing any physical part in the murder of Cassie Stoddart. Brian actually took police to Black Rock Canyon to show them where they buried all the evidence. Now, I bet when Brian took the police to where this evidence was, he did not think that they would be able to see what was on these videotapes because it had been burned, but luckily that was not the case. Now they knew that Brian was a liar. They had video evidence of him moments after Cassie was killed saying, "I just killed Cassie." Meanwhile, while this is happening, Tori is being interrogated by the police. He's just admitted to the police that the night that Cassie was killed, him and Brian were trying to break into cars. This is after his father has apologized to him because they didn't tell him that he's not supposed to lie to the police. And Tori has no idea that Brian has just told the police that he was a killer. And we have the moment where the detectives finally decide to tell Tori and his parents about Brian's confession and all the evidence that they have against him, and that he was being arrested for murder.
And we don't believe your story, and I don't think your dad believes your story about going through the cars. It's a tough one. And I don't believe it, especially because I know it's not true. Because we got you going into that house when you parked on the street. We got you going back into Cassie's house. If it was a prank, if you guys are just messing around, fine. We just need to know.
We do know that they murdered Cassie. Okay. We got the evidence at this point to prove that.
We found the evidence.
We also have some overwhelming evidence, trace evidence, that type of stuff that's going to prove that they did it as well. It's not just hearsay. It's not just somebody saying it. And then we do have a confession.
You know what you need to do. You know exactly what happened, and you know what you need to do. So, unfortunately, you're not going anywhere tonight. You're going to be placed into custody tonight. Okay? I'm sorry that's the way it goes.
You're going to be charged with first-degree murder.
Brian was questioned 2 more times on the 28th and the 29th. He continued to deny physically assisting and killing Cassie, but they had evidence that 2 knives, 2 people had stabbed her, and eventually he started to crack a little bit more. He admitted to stabbing Cassie 4 times, but said that he only did it because Tori made him, so he just continues to pin most of the murder on his best friend Tori. Both of the 16-year-old boys were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and they were going to be tried as adults. During their trials, there was extensive forensic evidence against the boys. There was evidence that 2 blades were used, a serrated blade and a non-serrated blade. Brian's DNA was under Cassie's fingernails. Tori's DNA was found on those creepy white masks. For some reason during the trial, a lot of focus was on who delivered the fatal stab that killed Cassie. But I'm just being completely honest, I really don't think it matters at all. They both killed her, they were both there, and I think they should receive the same punishment. A month before Cassie was killed, the boys had an older friend buy them the knives that they used to kill Cassie. The friend said that the serrated knife was claimed by Brian. 12 of Cassie's wounds could have been the fatal wound. A majority of them were caused by the serrated knife, but the wound that went through her heart was caused by the non-serrated knife. So clearly, both of these boys had a hand in ending this poor girl's life. Throughout the trial, Tori did not confess once. He said that the murder was 100% committed by Brian. Brian admitted to stabbing Cassie a little bit, but mostly blamed the entire murder on Tori. So you have these 2 best friends that took part in planning this murder. They were going to be these devious duos together, and now they're just turning on each other and completely blaming each other. Ultimately, the juries found them guilty, both of them, for first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Before their sentencings occurred, Brian's defense team actually suggested that there was sexual abuse happening towards him by his immediate family. And I'm assuming that there was some evidence that pointed to this possibly being true, because the district court ruled that Brian's parents would not be allowed to attend his pre-sentence interview. There was also allegedly child sexual abuse material found on the family computer in Tori's home as well. We don't know if it was Tori looking this up, if it was his dad or who, but this material was found on their family computer. Does this add a darker layer to this case? Was there more going on in these boys' families that led them to want to commit this terrible murder? They were both sentenced to life without the possibility of parole for the first-degree murder charge, and for the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, they were sentenced to life with 30 years fixed. Both boys immediately began to appeal their sentences. Tori and his parents complained a lot. They did not think that they got the defense that they thought they were going to get. I guess during Tori's sentencing, he did not have character witnesses testify about the kind of person that he was, and he thought that if he had these character witnesses testify on his behalf, he would have gotten a lighter sentence. His parents continue to say that their son is innocent of murder and Brian is the bad seed. They wanted to call on people to testify to his character, that he was a good person that got wrapped up with this evil person, and it was Brian, the evil person, that committed this horrific crime and then just tried to blame it on their son Tori. In June of 2012, the Supreme Court determined that mandatory life sentences without the possibility of parole for anyone under the age of 18 is unconstitutional. So Tori's defense team filed a motion for a new sentence for Tori. And in 2015, he had a post-conviction relief trial where he finally got to have those character witnesses testify on his behalf. And they all described him at the time of the murders as being young and naive and friendly, that he was immature but kind. He was a follower but caring. They really tried to paint Tori as this young boy, like I said, that just got wrapped up in this evil bad guy, Brian. That Brian committed this crime and Tori is wrongfully behind bars for it. This motion was denied and Tori's life sentence was upheld. Brian has not tried to appeal his sentence since the 2012 Supreme Court decision. Throughout my research, honestly, Brian did seem more like the ringleader and Tori more as the follower. Brian was, of course, the one that was trying to plan a mass murder only 2 years before killing Cassie. But behind bars, Brian is actually the one that has shown remorse. He's the one that's taken responsibility. He's the one that says that he deserves to be in prison. And it's Tori and Tori's parents that just continue to blame the murder 100% on Brian. And Tori just has not taken even an ounce of accountability. And Tori's parents are just completely in denial to this day that their son is a killer. You can actually see their attitude towards their son being in prison in this documentary clip. This clip is from a 2013 documentary about people under the age of 18 being sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. So this documentary would have been about 7 years after Cassie was killed. Their behavior is pretty disgusting. I feel like they really truly believe that Cassie and their son are both equally victims of Brian, and I just don't see any empathy towards Cassie or her family when they speak.
He was very easily influenced by his friends. Tori's much more of a follower than a leader.
Yeah, who I was at that point and who I am now, it's like totally different people.
But who Tori was at that age, at 16, he still didn't commit this crime. He's not saying that. He's not saying that.
I'm saying I made some mistakes and I learned from them.
But your mistakes weren't anything that you were charged with. They weren't the murder and the conspiracy.
Yeah.
That was Brian. It must be harder because you're innocent to be facing it.
Yeah, I guess. I remember the first article I read about my case. Geez, I mean, they made me sound like this brutal, cold, psychopathic killer.
They were talking about Brian. They were making you just like Brian.
They put us like as the same person.
They lumped them together.
I also have a clip from Brian from the exact same documentary where he talks about Tori not being able to admit that he's a killer. And I'll play that for you now as well.
It's not unusual that he would, have that response, and his your parents, you having that response. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. I mean, you have to accept the societal brand that you are a convicted murderer, and that is a very scary term to have affixed to your name. And so it's really hard. He wants to please his parents. He wants to go home. And his kind of behavior it's really common and it's ordinary, I think. I think what makes somebody extraordinary is when they face everything and just kind of accept it.
I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. I feel like there's a lot of really thought-provoking questions that this case has. Do you think that anyone under the age of 18 should ever be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole? This is something that gets brought up in a lot of true crime cases. Should these killers be given the chance for rehabilitation? Specifically, when it comes to Brian and Tori, the judge on their case gave them life without the possibility of parole because he believed without a doubt that they would kill again if ever let out of prison. Another thing I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on is, do you think that their high school was at all liable for Cassie's murder? I mean, just 2 years prior, one of her killers was saying that he wanted to kill some of his classmates multiple times, and he was just given a warning. It wasn't even on his official record or anything. In 2008 and 2010, Cassie's family did try to hold the school district accountable for their negligence, but a civil court and the Idaho Supreme Court dismissed their case and actually said that her killer's actions were unforeseeable. Do you think that Brian and Tori's parents should at all be liable? Should the parents of teenagers know what their children are doing? And when they are negligent and these things happen, should they also be held accountable for it? I mean, especially with Brian's parents, they were aware of his terrorist threats, and as far as we know, they never did anything to get help for their son. A lot of people say when they look at this case and the psychology of killers that Brian and Tori match closely to school shooters. Their plan ultimately was to get away with Cassie's murder and go on to murder more of their classmates. They had even planned a mass shooting or to break into the homes of their classmates and murder them one by one, similar to these slasher films that they loved so much. And I completely get the point. I see where people are coming from, where they compare Brian and Tori to school shooters, but I think Brian and Tori are like textbook thrill killers. They didn't kill because they felt like they were wronged. They killed because they wanted to know what it was like. They killed for fun, and that's really terrifying. Tori's parents continue to believe that their son is innocent, and in 2012, Tori's mother self-published a book about her son called The Guilty Innocent. I have not read it, but the Amazon reviews don't make it look good. Brian and Tori, to this day, are serving their life sentences apparently in the exact same prison, though it's said that they do their best to stay out of each other's way. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Should minors be sentenced to life without the possibility of parole? What do you think drove these two teenagers to commit such a senseless, brutal murder of someone that they called a friend? Do we point the fingers at their parents, at the school, or the media that they consumed? Or does all the blame fall squarely on these two deeply disturbed individuals?